Welcome to the Art of Listening podcast. In this episode, I speak to Sarah Warnaar. Sarah, she's a space holder and a guide for women. She's a mother. She writes beautiful poetry. And overall, her presence and her teachings are truly a gift to this world. And in the episode, we speak about her personal journey from modeling to reconnecting to herself, to her feminine, and finding a path that feels aligned with her soul. Sarah shares about her journey and motherhood and her sacred union, and I hope this conversation serves you, it inspires you, and enjoy. Right, hello and welcome. I'm very grateful, Sarah, that you came today to speak to me on the Art of Listening podcast. We spoke before in an IG Live conversation. You're a mentor for women, you're a mother, and you write beautiful poetry, and you do so much more. So before we start our conversation, if you could give yourself a small introduction, where you're at, what you're doing, so people can get a sense for you.
Perfect. I like your introduction, but I'll expand a
Thank
little
you.
bit on it. I thought it was really me. Um, yeah, so I'm a mother. I have a toddler. I'm also gonna birth another little boy in May. So me and my partner Nick are really building not only union but family life. And yeah, I've really I was in the modeling industry, like international modeling industry for about 20 years. And kind of from this place of living in this very surface level feminine and a lot of disembodiment and the pain of that, it kind of catapulted me into um, deep interest into what is the feminine. And so I've devoted my maybe last 12 years about living from the deep feminine and teaching that in embodiment and journeys with women. So I hold retreats, I have an online community, and also teach together with my partner Nick, who kind of does what I do for men. So we teach couples as well, which has been really beautiful. Yeah, so that's where I'm at right now.
Yeah, beautiful. And I would actually love to start a little bit more about your personal journey. So you already touched
Mm,
base that you started as a model.
mm,
And I think I can, in that sense, really relate with your path. But then that there was also a calling for something deeper, a deeper connection to yourself. And as you said, the
mm.
feminine. So, yeah, when did these teachings cross your path? Yeah, where did you begin? Also, where did you felt, okay, I want to share that with wisdom.
Mhm, mhm. Um, yeah, so like I'm very grateful for the journey of modeling, and it really was my ticket out of small town life. I didn't feel like studying, and I wanted to explore the world, explore spirituality, explore myself. And I traveled extensively with modeling for many years with that, which I'm very grateful for. But I was also quite a part of myself was quite introverted and not accustomed to being vulnerable at all. I think I saw that as weak, kind of yucky. And so I feel like I was pretty resilient with the whole modeling world because at the time it was before Me Too, like this whole thing, and it was pretty wild. It was different, There was agencies that was kind of gross bosses, and there was lots of coke, and it was wild. um, and very skinny girls. Like I was in that, I wasn't top model, but I was in the higher segment, and it was really before there had been a more healthy evaluation of the modeling world, right? So I was pretty resilient, come from a strong family, right? But some of the endless comments that I got on my body, on it never being enough and not being skinny enough, and it was just continuous. And at some point, this is how things work, right? With our minds, these beliefs start actually to take root in the body. And I started to, have a lot of body pains, like lots of gut issues. I became very skinny, and then it was more bulimic, and I started to develop, um, yeah, like a whole spectrum of eating disorders, and started to become very disembodied and disconnected from myself. Like especially working more and shoot after shoot after shoot. I'm flying and flying and flying. I just became this object and I was not really in touch with myself anymore. And I would like go out to dance, feel my body again, and I would have some release of that, right? And have some wine. And I really wasn't capable of really staying with my center, staying in my body and how to do that and how to process deep emotion and a lot of negative charge sometimes coming my way. I mean, modeling is funny. On one hand, you're like glorified, and on the other hand, I was really not. So it's like this strange kind of in between that you have to maneuver through as a model. And I was 18, when I started full time. I was just by myself traveling, so um, it was just a lot. And so when I was 21, I was like, no, 24, I think. I had this like, okay, this is enough. Like I'm in so much pain and discomfort. I'm not happy enough. And I think a lot of people have a misconception of what someone with an eating disorder is, right? That it's very like black and white, that you're miserable and, you don't have friends, or you just lived as um, really unhappy life and you never eat. It's so much more nuanced than that, right? It's so much more nuanced. And so, yeah, at some point, I just decided, I didn't know how, but there had to be another way. That's how my journey started. And it started more with psychotherapy and with mindfulness and doing yoga and, getting into mushrooms at some point. And it just, my journey started to open. And it was a bit late 20s, Saturn return, classic time when I was like, okay, this is my path. I just felt, it started to really open me. I started to become acquainted to feeling deeply, how to stay in the body, how to stay with high sensation, the beauty of vulnerability, the power of it, the power of the feminine. Looking back, was started to kind of come through embodiment, right? Through breathing and dancing and moving and releasing, and through plant medicine with ayahuasca, with this. And it was actually through these ceremonies that I started to learn about masculine, feminine. It just came through. I started to see it. I started to feel it. I started to understand it within myself. I started to understand what it means to be a feminine vessel or more masculine vessel, how these dynamics play out. And that really started to interest me more. I'd heard about Tantra before, but I was a bit repulsed by a lot of the spaces. I thought it was very sticky, not so safe. Um, and kind of through those experiences and ceremonies, I just felt this call of like, you're here to serve the deeper feminine. And that's how it happened. It was just like a pull. And so I stumbled upon the work of David Deida and then John Winant. And John Winant's become a really dear teacher of mine, Alexandra Roxo, and all these incredible teachers. And I learned, and I started to move and weave that in with my background in art, because I was an artist and a poet and a painter, which is very feminine. And my experiences and my ceremonies and all of that started to evolve into yeah, what I do now and who I am as a teacher. And at some point, like my friends were just sick of me throwing you know, full moon sessions at my house and women's circles. And I was like, I need to invite other people because it's just like I need bigger audience. Like I can't keep doing this. And so yeah, I don't know. It just someone asked me to do a retreat, and it
Yeah.
just evolved. And then when COVID came, I lost most of my modeling job because I chose not to get vaccinated, and so I couldn't travel a lot. And I was like, okay, this is my time. I have nothing to lose, and started to offer more breathwork journeys and circles online. And within maybe a week or two, that was full. So I really
Yeah.
felt there was like a of life and the universe. Like when I really said yes to this path, it's not that it's easy, but I felt very much like the when the water starts flowing really
Mm.
quickly, and I felt very carried in this path. Yeah.
And that's actually very beautiful. There are these moments in life when we also allow ourselves to fully choose a certain path. And before that, as you said, right, there are sometimes these small openings, and obviously it's
Mm.
also over the years that you will meet different teachers or maybe different practices, and then slowly something starts to open. But actually following that inner call and that inner pull, which sometimes also, I guess, then, I mean, exactly also what you said, right? It will also lead you a little bit into, yeah, not just a little bit, it will lead you into the unknown because you don't really know, okay, how can I share that, or to who should I share my teachings? But I liked what you said, that when the universe is kind of there to support you, and I feel everyone has it in their own life, that there are certain things where we know for some reasons the doors are easier to open than other paths. Um,
Yes.
and what would you say, looking back, what was the most healing and some
Mm.
teachings that you still go back to?
Hmm. Hmm. Can I just add something to what you just
Yeah,
spoke
of
on?
course. Yeah.
I think especially, I mean, if this is what you want to walk, is, serve from your feminine path, which is really your deep devotion, your deep desire, your embodied experience of life in your soul just kind of seeping through you, right? And not chose to be like, okay, I'm going to do psychology and that's it. And that's my offering, which is also really beautiful, but it's a different path, right? If you want to walk that, you have to go through the mud and the beauty and everything, because your embodied presence is felt. It's what people will want to work with or not. So you have to walk your path fully to let your purpose unfold or your mission unfold. It's not something that just like comes falling from the heavenly skies, right? And it's such a beautiful path, and it's also very bare sometimes, um, and can be challenging. Um, but there is a pull and there is a flow in it, and you become more acquainted to understand. I should lean into that. That's my next thing. And sometimes, and that's the ease of it, to allow that to happen. It doesn't mean the path is easy. That's very
Hmm.
different, right? But you follow the track of that. It's sometimes I'm like, gosh, I have to go there, and then yes, you do, right? And I find that just I'm always in awe of how that unfolds on this path, right? um, yeah, like having two babies in 2 years. I never thought that would happen, but
Uh-huh.
thank you God, and here we go. Like there's a trust in that guidance, right? And the most healing practices that I have found in my journey, maybe say three or four, just to get
Uh-huh.
tapping into the database of
Yeah.
hundreds of practices. I really come from a place of psychology and a family of psychologists. I really believe in doing inner child work,
Mm.
because if the deep masculine feminine work and a deep soul work, and it's very beautiful but very unrooted if we don't do the base work. So like, how are you brought up, where are your pain points, how does that ripple through in your union, in your life? I think that's really important, because
Yeah.
it's just, if you don't work with that, all the other stuff is a little bit unrooted, I would say. So I would name that first.
Yeah.
Yeah, befriend your little girl, and giving her all the things that she needed and didn't receive, and see where she was not seen fully. There's comes a time in your life where you have to remother part of your little girl, no matter how good your childhood was. So that's one. Learning how to breathe. Number two, yeah. I mean, you can make it really fancy, but if you can learn how to breathe deep into your belly, and I would take it deeper, like the feminine embodied mm, disposition, right, is the truth of your heart, what is moving through you. Add breath to that, deep belly breath, and then maybe some sound and movement. So it's so simple, but it's the base of feminine work. It's like, what is the truth in my heart? So for a lot of people, that's a practice. What do I feel, and what does that need? Right? This like a base practice to get to know that, and not just what you're thinking. And then, how do I stay with big emotion, right? Or how do I open numbness, right? When I'm my head or want to hide, and add breath to that, and add sound and movement to that, which are your three. I always say that they're like your weapons in feminine embodied work, because they help you open and shift the energy,
Yeah.
right? So maybe that's okay. Let's say that's two. Deep belly breathing, but the feminine embodied, kind of base
Yes.
of
Yeah.
truth of heart, deep belly breath, sound, and movement. And if you know how to use that, and no matter what happens in life, you'll be able to move through it,
Mm.
because you won't over identify with what's happening, but you also won't push it away. You learn how to actually stay with the sensation, and move it, express it, and release it. And um, sometimes that is the work with somebody for months, so let's say that's two. The inner child, the embodied feminine work. And let's do one more then, because they're quite two big ones. I would say, I work a lot with masculine and feminine
Mm-hmm.
dynamics, and polarity work is very hot. Like people are like, ooh, like it starts to click. Like, okay, this stuff works, and
Yeah.
it's inside of me and it's outside of me, and it's just like, oh, like this very attractive work, right? Um, So for those who don't know polarity, it's basically the magnetic pull between the masculine and feminine energy. The more difference, the more attraction there is. And there's all kinds of talk of like, if I just wear this like feminine dress, I'm more my
Yeah.
feminine, or, if I just tell her more what to do in leadership, I'm more my masculine, or if I'm like more surrendered, then I'm the feminine, right? There's like this kind of like little tips and tricks that you see
Mm.
like on Instagram polarity. And, if I'm just more in integrity, I say what I do, then I'm more in the masculine. And it's true, it will likely add some polarity to the union. But what I've come to is the deepest practice in creating polarity is, how can you embody more of your pole? And for me, that's the feminine, is how do I become more receptive? That's it. And how do you become more penetrative as the masculine? And that's not just sexual. So that creates polarity, right? And it's a natural way. Is when you have a womb, there is a receptivity to you. There is a energetic and physical truth to being born with a womb, right? And this might be a bit edgy for some people. That's okay. And you have masculine and feminine energy, but when you sleep with somebody, you are receptive. You're being
Mm.
entered. You're being pressed into, right? So often, a being that is born with a womb has a feminine essence, I would say. And then you can still have masculine qualities. It's not about that, but there is often a deep desire to receive, to be pressed into by consciousness, to be like seen or claimed, right? So how do you
Yeah.
live more from that receptivity? So how do you live more with an openness in the frontal column of your body, a softness that is vulnerable, that is more in the feeling body, that is exposed, instead of in the mind penetrative
Yeah.
action mode in that way. And if you learn to actually embody that, like down and in with an openness in the frontal column of your body, there's already a magnetism and a receptivity that creates incredible polarity in the relationship,
Yeah.
right? And not just a relationship, also in how you run your business and how your whole approach to motherhood and your approach to life. But I would say that's the third is, and it's on how do you create the most polarity, is how do you become more receptive, not as
Yeah.
some kind of a trick, but as a remembrance of your essence.
Yeah.
Those are three. That's my three: the inner
Yeah.
child, the embodied feminine, and how do you embody feminine receptivity? You can work with these things for years already. But
Yeah, I love
they're
that.
also simple. They're also simple in their basic.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I thought, and I thank you for sharing. Because I think oftentimes, even if we think about practices or like it can be so simple, and just what you've mentioned also, you can practice that at any time of the day, wherever you are, like really feeling and breathing and pausing, and it doesn't has to be something like or practice. I don't have time for that. I can't do that. I need to have 1 hour in the morning to just sit and meditate, and then I have done my practice. So I liked what you said to make it a part of your daily life, and especially also with the inner child, right? You will see it playing out, especially in your relationship. If you go to the
Mhm.
root of some triggers or wounds, there will always be that inner boy or inner girl, and yeah,
Yes,
to
exactly.
make it simple and accessible. I feel also still, even if you see it on Instagram, the masculine and the feminine work, I feel there's a lot of misconception of it. And that's also how we've met, because I went to a polarity workshop of you and Nick,
Mhm.
which was very powerful. And after that, I remember I went with my friend, and we were, I mean, still, it was one of the best workshops, to be honest, that I've done. Um, but I think even hearing about being more receptive as a woman, I find that sometimes not such an easy concept to grasp or to practice, because we do live in a world that's very masculine, that's very much in the head. These are my goals. That's what I should do or to create. For me, it was something to really practice to be more receptive and to allow myself to receive. There's also a lot of reconditioning that needed or still needs to happen. Yeah.
Yes, yes. And I really support that idea of that your path is your life is your path. It's so beautiful to like people come to a retreat or they come to my temple and you practice, 2, 3 sessions every month just to really deepen. That's what these practices are for, and that's why I go to places too. And it's just yummy. It's like I can really process a big chunk here that I need, or I can expand, in a big part. I can learn here. It's inspiring, but that's not the daily path. The daily path is an approach to life, right? Because otherwise, as a feminine teacher and devotee, as a mother, I would be hardly on my path, right? Because I don't have time to get up even 5 minutes sometimes and have practice if I'm lucky, because I don't sleep through the nights, right? Like so I don't um and a lot of the women that I really honor and work with have like 4 children. It's they don't practice every day, but they live their teachings, and that's where it gets really beautiful to take off that pressure of, oh my gosh, I haven't done my my hour morning practice. When I kind of let that go and just really weaved it into my existence, oh, like a weight of my shoulder happened with that.
Yeah.
You can always stop and ask your heart what she wants to say, or your womb. You can always catch yourself in that moment, what you spoke about with a partner, and you get your pattern comes up, your triggers, which is your inner child, and be like, oh, wow, there she is. Hello. Okay. right? How can I make her feel safe? How can I speak her needs? How can I you work with that in your union, in your relationship? Or as a mother, I do this all the time. Instead of just being in constant action and go mode in the masculine, just take a breath and literally breathe down into your body and fall back into your spine and soften the frontal column of your body and be like, okay, just a breath. And then I let life enter me more and then respond to life. So this is the feminine cycle, is how
Yeah.
can you become more receptive, but there's also a responding to life. It's not you're just receptive and it's passive, right? So there is like, how can I just take a breath, sink into my body, be a yes to the moment, and then respond through my heart, like see where I'm called. And it's a nuance, but it really changes your approach to life, right? Or just with my drum, I sing a song with my boy who's beating on another. It doesn't matter. They're like you cook and there's some music and you sing to medicine songs, or it's those things that keep the goddess alive in the daily life, I feel.
Yeah. Like what you said, saying yes to life or yes to the moment, because that also involves a full acceptance of the moment, however it might look like. So then you can fully be receptive and respond.
Yes. So yeah, illusion has to drop when you live from the deep feminine. It's not some shiny, glittery, I'm just living in light and love feminine. That's not it. No, it's brutal sometimes because love is truth. And sometimes that's really sad, and sometimes that's really angry, and sometimes that's, really light as a feather and very sensual. So that's living from her as the
Yeah.
embodied feminine. Yeah. You have to be
Yeah, and
ready for that.
I feel that's a lot living in the feminine, right? Having then a picture in your mind of the Holy One, white dresses, being a goddess, and all of it, which is one small aspect of it, but really allowing yourself to stand in your fullness with all their, I wouldn't necessarily say darkness, but the maybe wilder parts comes with that,
Mhm. Yes.
and learning to hold space for that as well.
Hmm. Yes. And yeah, exactly. You, you're dark and you're light feminine, which is not the evil feminine, right? Um, it's just you're more fierce yourself and you're more soft yourself. And the beauty of learning how to paint with that. And um, I think that's really crucial when you say what you said, learning to hold that or learning to be with that. It's something that's really important because what you see a lot in the feminine space is, or being in your feminine is just being this fully expressed, full voiced, fully sexual, fully just a lot of expressedness and lots of emotion. And that's really beautiful, but it's also really the first opening of the feminine, right? And really important for a lot of women because there's so much suppression of our full selves.
Mm.
Like, I needed that too in some points of my life, like go to festival and dance naked on a stage and have the time of my life. And right, it's just perfect. It had to happen. Like this kind of breakthrough, of your lineage of things that happened. It's really important to expand your range. Can I say range? Like your
Yeah.
emotional range, your voice. When you deepen the path, there's an almost counterintuitive energy that comes to the deepening of your feminine, the maturing of your feminine, is actually containment. Is how do I hold and contain this energy in a way that's truthful, that I say truth to myself, but also, um, opens the women in the retreat that I have in front of me instead of blasting them apart with
Yeah.
my sexual energy, instead of, feeding into the field. How do I connect to my partner that's not just my expression, but actually, takes into his nervous system. Maybe he's super tired from, holding 7 sessions, right? So
Mm.
maybe my sexual energy is more veiled or turned down when I'm with my sister's partner
Mm.
instead of my own, right? And that's a maturing of the feminine. To not see that as suppression, but actually as mastery. And I really love that part of the feminine. Like, how do I not just serve myself, but also the world and the other, and eventually God and the divine, which is like another step, I would say. But um, I love
Yeah.
how nuanced the dance of the feminine is. Does that
Yeah, and I
make
mean,
sense?
yeah, totally. And I mean, you also worked with so many women. That to say, you've also witnessed a lot of women, and I feel that being in your feminine is very individual to every woman, because
Mm.
everyone has maybe also different character traits, but even how to play the feminine or be in your feminine, that it doesn't has to look one certain way, and if you're not that, then you're not in your feminine. So really learning, or I mean that's what you're doing, really guiding other people in their own expression of the feminine. Yeah.
Exactly. And some women have shaved heads and they wear very masculine clothes. And they're more feminine than another woman who wears, rose dresses. And that could be. It's very energetic. And my job I like the puzzle pieces. I love to feel like, ooh, like what someone passed, what someone's desire, what happens in a reunion, and where can I help them stretch and open more in their heart and their truth and their womb. And with feminine work, it's not only just with feminine always comes the masculine. That's another misconception, right? Because the masculine is the safety and the container, and that's your relationship, but it's also within yourself. It's with God or cosmic masculine. And so you have to work with that energetic too. It's just as beautiful. But more women have a lot more feminine energy, so I would tend to work with that a lot more. Yes,
Yeah.
but it's both.
Yeah, I would actually like to dive a little bit into motherhood, because you've
Mhm.
already shared that you're a mother and you're becoming a mother again. So how was, I mean, I'm not a mother myself, but I definitely saw it now with some friends, or also the wife of my brother, and really this initiation into motherhood. How was your journey so far? I know it's so, I mean, it's
Yeah.
so layered.
Yeah. Well, I've had many initiations and ceremonies and trials in my life, and this is definitely the biggest. Um, I cannot compare it to, maybe you can say it's like 10 ceremonies in one night, and still it won't even touch it. So it has, I feel like motherhood, if it's for you, it is your biggest initiation, but initiations comes with a loss of the old self. Um, and I think I was a little bit more afraid of that. And that's been not so hard, actually. And I think it's also because I know why I'm here. I know what I am to serve. So I was quite solid in that already. I have no doubt about what my soul's here to do. It's very solid, and I've walked that path. So I don't have the fear of losing that if I put less work into that, because it's who I am. So it was beautiful actually to lose this maiden self, and there's always a part of it, um, but to be rebirthed, and that really is, and it's like from one day to the other, you wake up, or you one day to the other you have a child, and you see the whole world different. You're like, everything's different. My goodness, this is how much love and energy my parents have put into me every single day till I left the house. Oh my goodness, this is how much they love me. This is like you can't fathom it till you touch it, basically.
Yeah.
and the amazement of what people do to birth you and just you receive the gift of life, and through motherhood you give it away again. You give it all back. You really give yourself, your whole self. It's all encompassing. It's not 90%. It's like your whole self you give to this little being um, that you love so. It's pure divine godly love, just to house this little being here on earth. Um, and so motherhood has broken me open again and again and again. And it's been hard, also because I had a difficult birth and then he's been in the hospital twice. And the fragility of motherhood too, the power of her, like the lioness that's awakens, but also the fragility of it. It's just, yeah, it gives a whole different texture to life, you
Yeah.
know? Yeah, and I felt my own power and also my vulnerabilities and my softness, and you get to see your partner change into a father, which is so beautiful and sexy, and it's amazing, right? So
Hmm.
that's a gift, something you love your partner way more than before, which I think is really, I didn't know that would
Hmm.
happen. Um, but to see a man with these big hands, with these tiny beings, it's just like, oh, I think it's the most attractive thing in the world. So I'm very honored that I was chosen to be a mother in this lifetime. Um, and I would say, like, just let it strip you bare. Because if you let something strip you fully, there's always a rebirth of something,
Mm.
right? Yeah, that's motherhood for me. It also shows you your own inner child and limiting beliefs
Mm.
very much. Yeah. Like I'm getting my second son. I wrote about it actually the other day, but there's this kind of feeling of never being enough as a mother. Like no matter what you do, there's always
Mm.
like if I go to Pilates or I go work, and I'm like, and I don't even work that much. I'm with him a lot, but there's like this, but he just deserves all of me all the time. But you can't do that. You have to also
Yeah.
take care of yourself. And now I'm like, oh my God, he's one, and he's gonna be a big brother, and I'm gonna have half of my time for him, and like
Yeah,
you're vulnerable in that, you know? Yeah.
it's actually a good point. How did you navigate finding the balance of creating space and time for yourself and using also moments where you could fully tap back into yourself and motherhood? Because I find that's oftentimes, right, what you kind of need to learn to balance in some ways, even if your heart wants to give yourself fully, but you also know in the end that the more you are, the more steady you are, the more you can also then show up for your son more fully.
Yeah. Yeah. So I made the decision before I became a mother to spend um a lot of time with them, especially the first couple of years, because I learned a lot about when attachment is formed, how it's formed, what sending your kids early to daycare can develop into. And I knew that I wanted that I would have to deal with things being intense and not sleeping a lot and just being in service to these beings, especially the first couple of years till the attachment is really well formed. And then they go maybe to a little nature school and they're away a little bit more. So I decided that and I knew that was going to be intense, right? Because they're uh, they're more important than my you know, comfort, I would say, because working is easy. Like being with children is way more exhausting. So I've been trying to find a balance. I've been slowly um, booking in some hours to work or go to a workout 2 or 3 times a week, which I are things that I really need for my own sanity. So I did. We have a nanny 3 times per week for 5 hours, and I work within those 5 hours, and I'm very productive.
Yeah.
And that's it. I work within those hours, and then sometimes Nick is with him, and then we kind of hustle work like that. And he's been with me on all the retreats. He's there. Sometimes my mom comes, and yeah, make it work. So it's possible to run successful business, to be a devotional mother. Is it easy? No. It's easier to just have to work a lot more, I find. Like the more I work, it's really like
A treat.
a walk in the park. And of course, I have work that I love, but and then some people are like, not everyone has that opportunity, and I know, but I also created this for myself. I created something, a business that could hold me in motherhood in a way that I wanted to, and I'm really proud of that. I'm happy with that. Yeah. Now with the pregnancy, it's a bit harder to have a toddler
Yeah.
because I'm getting bigger and rounder and tired. So now I'm spending more time with family. So there's a bit more support. Yeah. So I guess slowly over time, started to take a bit more time for myself, um, which is
And
mostly work, but I really like it.
for anyone who's listening, who is maybe becoming a mother or who's already navigating motherhood, because I saw you also created a mother portal. So
Hmm.
would there anything, like any message that you maybe have that could help women on that path through your own experiences, or something that you share and something that you came to realize that have helped you?
Yeah, I created Mother Portal. It's the very like soft offering. It's on every 3 months. Um, and with my friend Dorothea, who's also a mother. And I feel like what's hard with motherhood is often we're very alone in it. Like you're just in your apartment or in the Western world, and you're just at home alone with your kids. And I feel, especially when you are, raising like this new earth children or in that kind of way, it's really nice to have some community and to just have a space to connect to other like-minded mothers, to also be held and to prioritize that for yourself. So to book in these spaces or create the spaces where you can do that is so nourishing. That makes it really alone and straining. Don't talk to grown-ups for
Yeah.
like days in a row. So try to have little walks in the park, or if you do live near community, like lean on that, and it really makes a huge difference when you can, you know, chat to other mothers and be with other mothers who just haven't washed their hair in 4 days and the coffee is cold, and they just don't know who they are anymore. And it's just like to create that weave and connection to somehow create community makes everything better. Yeah, I would really say that. And Nick and I are looking now, so it's a bit of our travels to live in a place where there is a bit more community. And it becomes more important when you're a mother, especially when you're home a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's important.
Yeah, I can imagine
And I
that
think,
it can feel some quite isolating, depending on also where you live. If you live in a big city, because it's not so common
yeah,
anymore that the neighbor helps out, or that you see or look after each other and help
yeah,
and support.
yes, 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 exactly. I find the ways where you feel um, support and um, I hear him now. I'm like, why is he awake? It's way too late. He's so cheeky. Um, yeah, and also just really, it's the deepest. I know you're deeply practiced into that. It's the deepest journey into presence and enjoying really simple things. So that's you have to learn. If you resist that, it's gonna be really hard. It's you just sit there for hours in the park watching him fill up the same little pot with sand again and again. And that's a big part of parenthood. It's very slow and like, to find your presence with that. It's a deep meditation. And I think also to I've always cooked with them on my belly. I've always, I take them with to friends. I just for me to take them to the market, that brings me happiness. To always just go out and do stuff with your baby. Don't make your life too small in the beginning. Like I traveled with Atlas to Cape Town when he was 5 months by myself. We had the best time. Like don't make it too small, just too quick.
Yeah, yeah, making motherhood more easy or joyful. I think that was
Again,
something.
part of your life, part of like make it alive,
Yeah.
not just this job.
Thank you. Something that I've still wanted to touch upon was sacred union. As you and your partner, Nick, you do, and you also share about sacred union. But again, I feel there's also so much nowadays on social media. What does it mean? So how would you define a sacred union and your path to it, actually?
Mhm. It's just finding that one person, and then you're complete, and everything makes sense, and he's the
Mm-hmm.
one. No, I was joking. No, it's I really believe that there is an inner journey to union first. So yes, we can expand in a relationship, but there needs to be a certain inner union so that you can come into a partnership from a space of power. A space is not too needy, a space of your own connection to the divine or God. Find your wording with that. So the path that I always teach women is to inner union, the inner masculine. There's a lot of, reconciliation often to be done with that. Find your devotion to outer union. And from that place, to step into a earthly union. And why? Because um, then you can step in from a place of fullness and satiation and expand so much more than people who have a lot of wounding where it just kind of becomes enmeshed,
Yeah.
right? I think when you do your own work and your own path, you become this force field together. And yes, there's still expansion, but for me, union starts within actually. And there's this a lot of Disney fairy tales of sacred union, and you meet, and you meet each other, and it's just this fireworks and everything falls into place. That's not how relationships often are. And yes, it's beautiful that first part, but sacred union will undress you of all the illusions and conditioning and trauma and neurosis, and it will alchemize that into love and loving union. And so it's an undressing, and you have to be ready for that, right? Because uh, and two people with that in mind. So you come in from a powerful place already, and I thought, and then there's the undressing of union, because you can do your own work, you can do your work in union, which will be another layer that will open. And so sacred union is not as sweet as people think it is often. It's actually quite undressing and rebirthing, and it's a path to a higher love. And if you're willing to walk that in devotion again and again in service to something bigger than just your little ego,
Mm.
that's it. And your devotion to each other, devotion to love, devotion um, to union. That's a really, really beautiful path to walk. It's been brutal. The first year was so hard. And that was our path. The first year was definitely hard. There was some undressing to be done. And, and I got pregnant within 3 months. So it was really intense. And each journey is different. But what I feel is that it's when people are really drawn to it, it's kind of blueprinted within you, and you're meant for it. And there is this force field almost that's created between a feminine being with an integrated masculine and a masculine being with an integrated feminine that come together, and there's like this energetic weaving that is so powerful and unfuckwithable
Yeah.
and uncontrollable. Um, and it's very divine and very human. And um, yeah, a lot of people are finding attraction to that again, not just
Yeah.
the flowery fuzz of it, but the real path to it. And I feel like a lot of us are, it's weaved into our soul. There's a deep longing to like return to oneness with another. not from emptiness.
Yeah.
But like there's this real, right? There's this return to the source of where we all came from through union, making it a bit more esoteric. But I really believe in that.
Love also what you said, that you come to relationship feeling whole, which doesn't necessarily mean fully healed, because you
Mm-hmm.
can, everyone has their own individual triggers or wounds, and that might be activated again in the relationship, but you could still find that, what you've mentioned, the inner steadiness and that inner wholeness. So you have that foundation within yourself, and then you can meet the other person, but also are able to take responsibilities for your
Mm-hmm.
own wounding or triggers.
Yes, yeah, it's not coming in perfect and
Yeah,
complete. It's about with willingness and awareness, and that makes the difference. Yeah, yeah, for sure. We're yes, our soul is perfect, but we're human, and we're always faulty and looking for things, and a little bit, wounded in some way. That's normal. That's why we're
yeah,
human. Yes, but yes, the attraction to union is very deep, and um, not from this sense of fairy tale, man on the prince on the white horse, but from I have a certain satiation, certain power, wholeness within myself, and through this human, because he has a deeper masculine, a deeper sense of divine consciousness, my feminine can widen and blossom even further than I can do alone. And that's also why Nick has that attraction to me, is that um, he knew that my feminine heart and my, let's say, oracle is a bit of a name, you have to know it, but let's say my feminine expression would, my heart of love would deepen his masculine in a way
mm,
that we couldn't do alone. And then
yeah.
you're the right match.
And I saw also recently that you got engaged, and I love
Hmm.
the newsletter. What you sent out, the newsletter where you were writing about the engagement, but not again
Yeah.
that it was like a fairy tale. It's like, oh yeah, just saying yes, but that
Hmm.
before that you were sitting with yourself and you were really, yeah, that it was a conscious decision, and even before that, that you ask yourself, would it be a full yes for me to that union? And I really liked that before that, yeah, that you checked in with yourself first
Hmm.
before that moment happened. And I really liked to read that. That was very inspiring.
Yeah, thank you. I think it's important. It's not some Um, and I was engaged before, so I had my teachings from that. That was really difficult teachings, probably one of my most difficult teachings. To saying yes to someone I loved a lot, but actually wasn't fully ready on a deeper level. And so how do we forgive ourselves and learn is by learning from our mistakes and do better next time. So I was more rational about it this time, right? Like, what do I need to be a full yes? What is in the way of that? What do I need to clean up with? Maybe an ex, and I was very clean, but like there was a little energy that I was like, okay, I'm gonna work with that. What does union mean to me? What are we devoted to? So that's really clear. What does marriage mean to you? And I had those conversations with him before. And not just, I didn't want to just go like yes, and then
Mhm.
I want to be in integrity with my masculine, which is my integrity is like that. My yes is a real yes. So I would encourage everybody to do that.
Yeah,
Sit with it. And what does that mean to you, union and marriage? And what are you saying yes to? Where are you? Do you feel a hiccup in your system? What do you need to clean out? And do that. I knew he was going to ask me at some point, and I also felt it just to take care of my side of the street before he
yeah,
did that.
yeah,
So, right. And I'd be like, "Oh, I say yes, but there's like 5% that I no,
yeah,
right? Or not from this excitement. And then
And then
no.
afterwards, you ask yourself the questions, and you're like, "Oh, I already said yes,
Yeah,
but there are so many things that are just now popping
yeah,
up in my
yeah.
head."
And a lot of marriages break apart, right? So it's fair enough to ask some good questions
Yeah,
before. Um, and when he asked, it was like it was just like I could see it in our souls. Just he went on one knee and he looked at me and he just said like, I don't know, he said something like you're all I ever desired. Would you want to like would you like to be my wife? Would you marry me? But it was such a it touched me so deep, like the earnesty of his heart and soul as a man. Oh, and just I felt it like yes, this is it. It was, yeah, it's so beautiful.
I
And
mean, you could.
then my toddler kicked over the
Yeah,
camera.
that
It was
was a very
so
sweet
funny.
video. It was a very
Is
real
yeah,
video.
yeah, yeah. And that's
That's why I really love the work also that you both create together, right? Because you could feel that you are doing your work together and you obviously have your own teachings and your own work, but coming together and guiding people in that process. But from an embodied space, I feel it's, and I can imagine that a lot of people desire that, but actually don't know where do I start. Where can I even start in my relationship to do that? Or maybe one person has more of the desire to walk a more conscious, integrate path, but the other person is not there yet. So yeah, so
yeah,
thank you for creating
yeah,
that.
yeah. We do our own work, but eventually we want to bring it into our unions, right? Into our relationship. That's really important. Yeah. That's where our desire lies. What did you say before that? Sorry, I wanted to say.
Well, just overall that you both,
But yeah,
yeah, that you have
okay.
you.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah. It's not all teachers are like that. Some just really want to teach without any personal connection. Some are very personal, that are just like very open book about everything. Um, I'm a little bit in the middle of I really like it when I can feel a teacher, when I can feel I know a little bit of their journey. I don't need to know all the details, but it's I can yeah I know it's embodied. They've been through their stuff, and I like that without all the details of their life. Just here and there something beautiful, vulnerable, and for instance about our relationship, we share a bit more. It's both our work and we're comfortable with that. And a lot of people like it. It's that like yes, we're trained and we've studied a lot, and also we're two human beings walking the path of union, and we've had our own journey to it. Yeah, the feedback. We just run our first like bigger online course, like 40 couples it was called Union. I think the feedback was that people really appreciated that. This sense of um, it's not that it's called vulnerable leadership, right? It's not like I share all of my stories when I hold a space.
Hmm.
I don't do that, but I do tap into my own database and share parts of my stories because I'm just like you. I'm just, and it's nice to make things relatable whilst holding a strong space. And that's just my way of teaching, right? I'm a community holder before anything else. Sister.
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for this beautiful conversation. And you just shared a little bit about that, but how people could work with you, your offerings, if they felt, yeah, that resonated and they would like to dive deeper with you.
Thank you. I was just thinking like you're a very good listener, and I think that's also why you can call it the art of listening.
Mhm. Thank
Joking,
you.
very good. You're a very beautiful listener, and it's a beautiful skill to have. Yeah, so uh, I offer the same things every year. I'm very steady with that. A little bit less this year because baby is coming. So I offer the Temple of the Feminine Flame, which is my biggest, deepest 9-month offering starting in January. And that is just a 9-month journey through all the layers of the feminine path, right? And um, yeah, all the beautiful teachings and embodiment. And you journey with one closed container of women. It's just the most beautiful space that's online. And we have 5 more spots, I think, for the coming year. I have a retreat in March. That one is without plant medicine, and I have one retreat in August that is with ayahuasca and all the feminine work. So those are my 3 offerings the coming year, and it's a really cool sisterhood. A lot of women come, get to know each other. They come to the online space, they come to the retreats, and it's really, really special. And on the final retreat, well, both retreats also have mothers, pregnant women. Everybody's welcome. Some come with their kids. So it's yeah, a really cool community, and you're very welcome there.
Beautiful. Is there any last message that you want to share, or something that's on your heart before we close this beautiful conversation?
Mm, anything I want to share? It's in my heart. Yeah, that the feminine remembrance and awakening is not heady, it's not ethereal, it's not something glittery or extravagant. It's a embodied descent from the head to the heart to the womb, and learning to live anchored from that space. And when we allow ourselves to go through that grounding, we actually tap back into the divine and our connection to that. Um, and I would invite all women to say yes if they feel yes to that path, and know that it will unravel if you lean in, because it is non-linear. You really can't figure it out with your head before you say yes to it. That's why it's the rose. It really unfolds layer by layer. So trust where you feel cold, lean into that ease, even if it's not easy, and really it will hold you and it will unfold for you.
Yeah, beautiful. Well, Sarah, thank you so much. It's always a gift and pleasure to talk to you, and can't wait to keep witnessing, at least over social media, your motherhood and all the beautiful offerings of your sacred union and the work overall that you do. You also write a lot. We didn't touch upon this, maybe for the next time, but for anyone who feels called to read your beautiful poetry, I know you have a Substack as well where you share that, your words and your reflections. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for this beautiful conversation. It felt very heart opening and light. And thank you for your work and your devotion. It's very potent and beautiful.
Thank you.
Mm.